Al, there's some background information or background noise, so if everybody could mute themselves, I'd appreciate it. We're keeping it pretty casual today. Um, so you can unmute and ask questions, but while you're just viewing, please stay muted. Okay. Looks like a recording has already begun. Is that right, Brittany? So we're recording this.
Yes.
Okay. Did you have anything to say to kick us off, or do you want me just to jump in?
I would just say welcome. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming to this orientation to learn more about the program. And yeah, we're just glad you're here. Glad you all are interested, and we're really excited. MEC as well as MIA, the Midwest Energy Efficiency Alliance. We're really excited to kick this program off. So this meeting will be recorded. So for any of your colleagues that wanted to be here but couldn't, we will upload this to our website so they can take a look at it before they decide they want to commit to the program and join this journey with us. So yeah, without any further ado, welcome again, everybody, and I'll hand it over to Mary.
Thanks, Brittany. I'm Mary English. I'm just going to be giving this orientation hour. It's being recorded for your colleagues or anybody else. If you're watching this now and you have questions, since this is a recording, you can't ask them live. Please follow up with us after watching this hour with any of your questions. My contact information will be on the last slide. So without further ado, let's talk about my presentation, if I can advance a slide. There we go. Okay, so today we are going to talk a little bit about who we are, what is Building U, overview of the HERS rater. All this stuff is super high level because many of this is actually covered in the HERS rating class, including building science, but I do want to talk a little bit about some of the concepts at work in this training. Also a note on what type of math is sort of you use in this profession. And then we'll go into the house cleaning aspects of technical, which you're all here for probably, is how to access the training in the office hours and what to expect after the course, what comes next. And if you have any clarifying questions, put them in the chat or raise your hand. I can't see your hands or the chat, but Brittany is online to moderate those, and anything that is needed, I'll answer it as we go along or again at the end. Okay, so Metropolitan Energy Center, we are a decades old non-for-profit here in the Kansas City region. If you haven't heard from us, don't worry heard about us, don't worry. We have sort of been traveling under the radar, but we do have multiple robust programs in both building performance and sustainable transportation. Our building performance side is dedicated to education, resources for the community in both the commercial and residential clients. We also have a residential demonstration home at Troost and Emmanuel Cleaver Parkway. We offer tours of that by appointment, and it gives a good snapshot of many things you can do in an historic home to renovate it to being more energy efficient. And then we offer things like jobs training program now, like Building U. So speaking of, what is Building U? Building U is our branded project to train students in the vocation of energy efficiency, like HERS rater. And I'll talk about what the HERS rater is next. But the jobs training program has several vocations that we're going to be filling classrooms for. This was initially in response to the new energy code package that Kansas City, Missouri passed, which has several new requirements in it that requires more labor than we currently have in the region to fulfill these code requirements, like infiltration testing, both for residential and commercial buildings. And then there are several other related professions that I'll talk about in just a minute that also could use some labor. And so the vocational classroom is a way in to sort of understanding building performance and understanding sort of the updated policy that is being enacted, not just in our area. Multiple cities in Johnson County are looking at this type of code as well, but coast to coast. So the HERS rater that we're starting out first. We have several vocations, but we're starting on the HERS rater because that is the overall vocation that really can do multiple things for codes departments that are enacting this new building policy. So the intention after these classrooms start launching is that we will have some existing professionals in this space that will want folks that come out of this training have passed their tests and passed their probationary period in this coursework. So you can then go into jobs that we are on the back end working for right now on the ground to get employers interested in you that come out of this program with a certificate. And then for those that maybe want to go for an apprenticeship, but then also open their own business, we are going to offer business management skills training and mentoring as well. So what is a HERS rater? Well, HERS rater is kind of a fun, little redundant acronym because it has rater at the end of it. That's my joke, but Home Energy Rating System rater. So the rater is the person that enforces, or I should say enforces, maybe too strong of a word, but actually uses the standard to certify a building to being a certain score under ResNet standards. So they're certified by an accredited rating provider, which may be actually the teacher of this course, or there are many rating providers out there. You're not obligated, but you need to find somebody that is going to credit you and then do your QA QC once you do enter the field. And then that QA QC person in the field is overseen by ResNet, which is the official organization that sort of runs this accreditation program, make sure the program is staying abreast of new technology and new knowledge gained in the industry, and sort of maintains this standard. And ResNet has their own sort of bosses that they report to, like federal agencies and so on and so forth. So this is a national program, and it has to follow ethical standards and make sure that it's keeping things relevant and organized. So you, as a HERS rater, can keep your credential, which you're required to renew every 3 years through continuing education credits and so on and so forth. But the bottom line is the HERS rater is relied on very heavily by code departments to help them certify buildings as being up to the code requirement that adopts the home energy rating system as a compliance path under the code. Starting to get into the technical weeds. So let's talk a little bit more about what the HERS rater does. So I used to be a HERS rater, so I can talk to this about what used to be, although I know there's been a lot of updates, and we actually have the teacher of this course on the line. So for Q&A, if I don't know, she sure will. But we basically have, when I say we, I'm not a HERS rater anymore, but I might say we basically do energy modeling in the beginning before ground is broken. We take blueprints and we run calculations and feed them into a software system that helps do the heavy lifting on getting this HERS rater training started. And then in the middle of the construction process, after like insulation and air sealing is installed on the job site, the rater goes in and looks at the insulation, make sure it's installed correctly, make sure that air sealing is done correctly. All of this is, the details are going to be covered in the HERS class. So this is, again, just an overview. And then final stop on the way to the HERS rating is the testing before occupancy, right as the building is finished. The HERS rater goes in. It uses equipment like what you're seeing on the left, a blower door, to test how leaky the house is to make sure that it falls within the code requirement leakiness rate, and also does the same with the ducts with a similar piece of equipment not pictured here called a duct blaster. And then there are a few other measurements and boxes that you need to check to then tell the builder and the code department official that yes, this building tested out, it checks all the boxes for code, here's the certificate, good to go. Or actually these changes need to be done, the builder has to make these changes and then re-verify. So again, this is just an overview. The education requirements really are the home energy rating certificate, which is issued after the 100 hours of coursework and a few other things, which I'll get to here in a minute. It does help to understand home construction basics going into this class, but I didn't understand any basics and I'm here. So it can be done. This is why we're starting out with this class. And we're hoping that you sort of relate to some of these skill sets, that you are a self-starter, you can work independently, you have good attention to detail. Understanding some math basics is a plus. I'll go into what those basics and resources are. You can be on your feet for a long time. You can lift heavy things. That blower door weighs roughly 50 pounds. You know, I lugged that thing around for 12 years, so I should know. And then, you know, you're comfortable with extreme temperatures because sometimes this job requires that you're on an unheated job site in the middle of winter and it can be a little cold. And starting pay for apprentices is going to be somewhere below, around or below this low end, but really apprentices, you know, once you get your feet under, can really start at $20 an hour and go up from there, depending on the region. The HERS rater is using the HERS index to score the house or the multifamily complex. And again, Resin has established the scoring system, and the actual score is uses a reference home benchmark, which is 100. And that 100 score, that gets technical. I'm not going to get into it here, but it's part of your coursework. And then goes down from there in efficiency improvement. So some, if you're familiar with the sustainable certification field, some building systems use a different scoring system where higher is more efficient. Just know that the HERS index, the lower the better. And for the sake of reference, the Kansas City, Missouri code, I believe, has a HERS score of 54 or better in order to get your certificate of occupancy and get that whole project checked off by the code department as being has fulfilling the code policy. So just for fun, if you've heard of a net zero building, that would be a 0 score on the HERS index. So there really is a method to this madness, and this was figured out by engineers and scientists with a higher pay grade than myself. Okay. Does anybody have any clarifying questions on the HERS rater overall? Otherwise, I'm going to go into the next section, which is a quick tutorial on some of the building science basics that have gone into the standard. Okay, so building performance is using building science, laws of physics, specifically the laws of thermodynamics and pressure differentials, to explain what's going on in a building during extreme weather events and how to efficiently design a building that keeps us healthy, keeps us comfortable, is affordable, and is also resilient and durable for the community as a whole. And the two scientific areas that I'm just going to touch on very briefly are the principles of heat transfer and pressure differentials. The fresh air exchanges is an important mechanical aspect of understanding the best practices in constructing and testing a building. Fresh air exchanges, though, are mostly about mechanical technology. I'm not going to touch on that here, but know that buildings that are built to a low HERS score will need to have what we call mechanical ventilation to complement the fact that we're tightening up these houses to withstand extreme wind and temperatures. Okay, this may seem really basic, and I'm sorry if it is, but this is something that I didn't know when I first launched myself into this new career, that for the sake of this presentation, heat and energy are synonymous. And so hot, high energy moves to cold or low energy, never in the reverse. And so you have to really know this to sort of understand the concept that's going into the vocation that a HERS rater is in. Like, you are not trying to keep cold air from moving through a wall. You're trying to keep hot temperature from moving through the wall. So through the building. That's the basics. So when you go outside on a cold day, just sort of analogy here, I put on a fleece and a windbreaker. The fleece is akin to insulation. The windbreaker is akin to an air barrier to keep my heat in my body. If I go outside on a cold day without a coat, the heat is leaving my body and my body kicks in and starts burning more calories to keep the temperature of my body at around 98 degrees. It's the same in the house. In the winter, heat is moving out of the building, either through a pressure differential or just transfer of that heat through a wall, through conduction. And then the furnace kicks in or the heat pump kicks in and burns energy to keep the building at that consistent temperature. That's the basic law of thermodynamics. So talking about this law in a building, we're trying to slow that transfer. Unless you're in rocket science and designing rockets, you're never going to build a building that stops heat transfer, only slows it. And the insulation effectiveness at slowing that transfer of heat is called an R value. Or U, but that gets technical and that's covered in the course. So I don't have time to talk about the U value today, but these are terms that will become second nature to you if you continue through this course. And the higher R value is the more effective at slowing that heat transfer. And so this little illustration is showing a big arrow, heat's going through an uninsulated wall fast, little arrow slowing down and reducing the amount of money that you have to spend to heat the place. The pressure differential that I'm talking about is, there's a couple of slides here and then we'll move on to the house cleaning aspects of the course. So on a cold, blustery day, think of sort of the building as breathing in and out. Cold air is going to make its way into the house. In order to have air movement between outside and inside, you have to have pressure differentials. That would be represented by wind. And you have to have a hole for the wind to go through. Those are your air leaks. And so building performance is trying to seal up as many air leaks as possible and slow this transfer. The transfer is called air changes per hour. And that is going to be something that you learn in your sleep through the course of this material. And that is sort of that drafty feeling. If you live in an older home that gets very drafty on a cold winter day, that's what you're feeling. You're feeling the air transfer per hour. You're feeling the air coming in through the lower part of the envelope. Let's say it's 22 degrees. 1 in equals 1 out. Houses don't blow up like a balloon, right? So you get 1 cubic feet of air in through cold air blowing, and then you're going to have that warm, paid for conditioned air leaving out through the top of the envelope. This is also known as the stack effect. Please don't let the color of the arrows fool you. That doesn't mean that cold air is moving from cold to hot. That violates the law of thermodynamics. Those cold arrows just are talking about cold wind coming in through leaks and then warm air that you've paid to heat and cool exit out. And the taller your building, the more intense that stack effect is in the winter, where air can really just rush in and out of your house if it's inefficient and has a lot of air leaks. Okay, that's pretty much the end of the tutorial about laws of the first law of thermodynamics and the concept of stack effect and pressure differentials. You will learn all about it in the HERS class. We did want to also talk a little bit about math because you do need to know basic math equations from high school algebra and high school geometry. Again, not rocket science. It'd been decades since I had used any of this when I started in this class. And the formulas are basic, and you just have to learn them once. Once you've learned them, you use them a lot, and you're not going to have to stress too much about having to retain them because you're constantly using, basic formulas. So, for example, the Pythagorean theorem. That's something that you use to calculate surface area on a sloped roof, for example. Super easy formula, not rocket science. We do have a couple of online links for you here if you'd like to go brush up on some basic algebra equations and geometry equations on a free service site. It's a non-for-profit that offers some tests just for your own learning experience. This is really just to put yourself at peace of mind if you want to. If you're like, oh boy, I hate math. I don't know. Last time I did an equation, this should just give you some peace of mind, just so you know, hey, it's not that big a deal. Okay, so what do you need to know to be ready for your first training session? Okay, this is 100 hours of classroom training that is on demand and online. You can take it at your own pace within a 3-month period. So apologies if everyone came here thinking that this was an in-person live series of classroom classes. This first module, since we have people all over both states, Kansas and Missouri, is online and on demand of pre-recorded coursework by our instructor. You are going to you're going to get a link after this orientation to fill out a student intake form. It's going to ask you for some information. It's going to ask you just to answer some basic questions and give more instructions on what this class is going to be, the time frame, and what this class is going to be about. Once you have finished filling out that and submitting that intake form, MEC or Mia will follow back up with you if you have any unanswered questions or items to be communicated, and then you'll get confirmed into this 100 hours of coursework. And Energy Smart Institute will send you a username and password to access the classes on their website, which is energysmartinstitute.com. If you don't see after you submit, understand that you're going to get a registration link to start this class. If you don't see an email, check your spam folder or go to the website, click login, and hit forgot your password prompts and use your email address. Any way you slice it, MEC, Mia, or Energy Smart Institute will make sure that we get your information entered and that you get a username and password once you're approved into this class. And you may take it anywhere at any time when it's convenient for you. You log in, you click on My Training courses, and then you can enter and complete a training unit by clicking on it or navigating to it once you complete the previous unit. So you are not going to be thrown in the deep end just to take these 100 hours on your own without talking to anybody. We have a wonderful resource of Charla's one-on-one live online office hours. And so you finish the module, you have questions, you don't have to keep on going to the next module. All you have to do is sign up for Charla's office hours, and you basically follow this link, and it's like any online registration. It'll have a calendar highlighted of what dates and times are available. You click, you register, you get a confirmation email that loads onto your calendar if you want it to. And then you show up and there's Charla and you can ask away. And she'll help you get anything in the first module, second module, third module that was unclear so you can continue on confidently to the next module of training. Once you finish the 100 hours, then what happens? Well, you will then need to schedule some in-person on-site training to get trained on how to recognize good insulation installs before drywall is hung, but specifically also and mainly how to set up the field testing equipment. So how do you set up and run a blower door? How do you set up and run a duct blaster? How do you measure exhaust fan flow rates in the bathroom, for example? All those things will be taught to you on site in person. We need to get that scheduled. You're going to have several, specifically 4 exams that will need to be taken and passed. And then once these 2 steps are completed, your instructor will reach out to you on how to proceed with your probationary ratings. Probationary meaning you have test ratings, you have to do a minimum of 3. And if the instructor feels you would benefit from doing more before you are officially get your certificate of completion from ResNet, you may be asked to do more than 3. But this is all unknown at this point in time. It really is, you take the coursework, we pass the exams, we learn how to run the equipment. Then the last piece again is making sure you understand everything you just learned by being overseen in these probationary ratings. Okay, so here's the fine print stuff. This 100 hours of coursework, after you take your intake, you're accepted, is paid by this grant, by Building You. We're giving you 3 months to finish the 100 hours on your own time and expecting you to complete the 100 hours. What we don't want is for folks to come in and after 2 months just sort of abandon it and fail to complete the coursework. We're going to ask commitment to take the 100 hours or owe Building You 1,200 and change. This is because this class is in high demand. We want to avoid, excuse the term, looky-loos, just to come in to check it out and drop off halfway through. If we're going to give you a grace period, if you sign up, take the intake, are accepted into the class, tuition paid, maybe after a week and taking a couple of modules, you're like, whoa, this is not what I was expecting. I don't think I'm interested in this at all. If you have a grace period, let us know. Forgiven within the first 10 business days or so, let's say, and then somebody from the waiting list can come in and take your spot. So you have a very brief window of grace period. Otherwise, you're expected to finish the 100 hours of online coursework in order for it to be paid by Building You. That's the bottom line. And you have until June 30th, 3 months, a little over 3 months from today. Now, these other items are also in our project to be paid by Building You. So the 100 hours, we're paying it. We know, we have the money, it's in the bank. The following activities are scheduled to be paid by Building You, but due to unknown factors that if you read the headlines, you know what those factors are right now. These requirements may be suspended as tuition paid. However, we don't anticipate that. There's just some unknowns right now that we're sitting in since this is a Department of Energy funded project. But these items that need to be completed by you in order to get your HERS certificate, there's 3 more. The money is hopefully going to be in the bank soon, but we needed to let you know what you're getting yourself into. I believe that 100 hours of this coursework paid for free is a huge value. And if you end up stopping there, you're never going to look at the building the same. You are going to get a ton of important knowledge that can be useful in the construction field either way. In order to get your certificate, though, we wanted you to know that you will be expected to pass tests. You're expected to learn field training, and you'll be expected to take these probationary ratings either way. That's how you get your certificate. Once you, either way, whether you take the 100 hours and you want to continue with the rest of the requirements to get your certificate, or you finish the 100 hours and you're like, well, that was good information, but I really want to swing a hammer. We will help you because we have some loose sort of informal partnerships with other contractor and construction associations that want labor and have employers that need labor as well. And so you'll have our network of contacts in order to help you move into some other vocational apprenticeship programs should you decide that your journey ends after the 100 hours of HERS Rater training, that we can help you with. Otherwise, we are working with HERS business owners so we can get you into apprenticeship positions once you have a HERS certificate in hand. That is the contractual requirement that we have with the Department of Energy, is to make sure that we get you as many employment resources as possible and get you into some apprenticeship programs. And then link you with other types of mentors and instructions. We have been talking with these types of other employers that need energy professionals. So for example, I talked with a government official several months ago that said to keep them informed of people as they go through this coursework. They might, if you're not somebody that's interested in actually doing a specific HERS vocation, after this coursework, you would be potentially somebody that a government agency might want in their sustainability office, for example, because now you understand building performance. Now you understand the laws of thermodynamics and how energy efficiency buildings are built. And then finally, this could be a launch. This is not anything. I don't want to be clear. These are not things that are going to be covered by Building You, but these are other areas that you might want to look into should you really be like, I know when I first took my HERS class that I really was like, where have you been all my life? This is fascinating, amazing, interesting. This profession really spoke to me. And after my HERS class, for example, I went in and got my BPI, my Building Performance Institute certificate, which allowed me to understand existing buildings a little bit more. The HERS Rater is understanding how new construction goes, for example, but the two have a lot in common as far as understanding laws of thermodynamics and building performance. So these are just, again, we're trying to offer you a career path here that will be very rewarding should you continue through to the end. Okay, so that is the end of my prepared slides. That's my email. And then we also included Adrian, their email, even though you usually won't talk to Adrian. You'll talk with myself, and one of the other program coordinators would be potentially Jacob or Justice. For now, take note of that email address if you have questions after this hour. And Brittany, I'm over to you. I think I'll just keep up this slide unless you want me to stop sharing to see.
Yeah, can you go to the question slide? Just go back one. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Great. So we did have a couple questions in the chat, and I'm sure we'll have several more as people are kind of processing the presentation you just shared. But one of the questions was, will it be possible for you to share a copy of this presentation? And yes, we will be able to share this. We'll upload it to the Building You website for your reference. The second question was, would you say that completing this as quickly as possible would make these items more likely to be paid?
I can't answer that question. It's all an unknown. And I'm sorry. It's, it's not our fault. I know that sounds like a cop out, but we're really just waiting to hear back from the Department of Energy right now. It's technical. It has to do with our contract. It has to do with everything that's going on right now in the nation. And we're just caught in the middle of it. And we have a contract. Okay. We are legally, we are legally paying for this coursework. The question right now is just, is there anything that's going to inhibit our ability to pay for the rest, as is in the contract? That's all I can say. I'm sorry. Are there any other questions? Somebody want to unmute? I think looks like Brittany had to go offline for a minute. Unmute and ask.
I had one. I put it in the chat. Is it possible to bypass the field training day for those of us who are already BPI certified and are familiar with blower door and duct leakage testing, or is that a mandated requirement?
That would be a question for Charla. I don't know if Charla's online and wants to answer that now or wants to follow up offline and answer that question.
Okay. I am online.
Okay.
And actually, that is an additional item that Building U had requested. So it's not required for certification, the field training day. You still would have to do the probationary ratings. So those are in the field. There are 5 of them, not 3. Mary hasn't been through it for a while. So there are.
Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. I apologize.
That's all right.
I thought it was started at 3 and went to 5.
Yeah. That we used to do 2 during training and 3 probationary, but instead now it's 5 probationary. So there's still, yes. So you still have to do those, but it would be up to Building U whether they require that field day training. It's not required as part of the certification.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. So if you have never been familiar with it, yes, we are requiring it. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Other questions?
Did you just address
you hear me?
the bypassing the field training? I'm sorry.
Yes, we did.
Okay, great. Sorry, guys. My dog just barked, so yeah, my bad.
No worries.
Good morning. I wanted to ask a question with regard to the 5 versus 3. What are we saying there? Are you saying that there have to be 5 days of field training versus 3 days of field training? Is that what you're referring to?
No, after you take the training and you pass the exams, you will join a rating quality assurance provider.
Okay.
And they will work with you to complete 5 full HERS ratings.
Okay.
And that's part of your basically your apprenticeship period with them, making sure that you are doing 5 full HERS ratings how they want them at a minimum. And it's just like Mary said, if they feel like you need a little more experience with a part of it, maybe running the duct testing or the mechanical ventilation testing, then they will ask you to do additional work but they are the ones who decide when you are ready to have that certification.
Okay. One other clarification point, please, Charla. So when you complete the 3 exams, assuming that a person completes the 3 exams, you're still not yet, quote, certified until you do these 5 HERS ratings to a satisfactory level. Is that correct or incorrect?
That is correct. That is
Okay.
correct.
Got it.
You have to take the training and pass the exams. Then you are considered a probationary HERS rater.
Okay.
Then you go through the probationary period with the minimum 5 actual HERS ratings, and then you become certified, fully certified at the end of that.
Awesome. Thank you.
You are very welcome. Oh, and I also did want to clarify that I am not a rating quality assurance provider. I'm an independent training provider, so I just provide the training. I can help you find a QA provider, though, to finish your certification. So I am not biased. You won't you won't be having me trying to get you to join my providership because I don't have a quality assurance providership anymore. I used to. So I know how to run them, but I'm focused on training now.
So that's good to know too, Charla. And Charla, you can guide them to the list of providers for our area, I'm assuming, and help them get
Yes.
set up with one. Okay, awesome.
Absolutely.
You mentioned the wait list for getting into the class, right?
You are breaking up. I can't hear you very well. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead.
You mentioned there's a wait list for getting into the class, right?
Cody
Is there a
asked,
wait list?
we mentioned that there's a wait list. So currently we do have, you know, over the 24 spots that we are allotted for this program, people have signed up, but as you know, someone might want to do the program, and then like Mary said, they're a week in and they decide this is not for them, then, a spot would open up. So there is a possibility for more people to be able to sign up. Just depends on, who from this batch of people who signed up commit and fully complete it. So was that your question, Cody?
Yeah. Do you know how many are on the wait list right now?
We had maybe a couple folks, 3-4 folks on the wait list. Are you hoping to put someone else on the wait list, or what?
I've got a couple of friends that were interested. One of them might have tried to sign up, and I think he said there was another slot for a week from now or a couple weeks from now.
Mhm.
Is that how to sign up on the wait list?
Yeah, so we had opened up that slot on the 31st on the registration page, just so we can keep that link up and running. So if they do want to sign up for that, they can. And we will make sure that either they get into this first cohort or they are added to the wait list for the next one.
Is there would it be easy and allowable for me to share this presentation with them so they have the background information to see if they're even interested in going ahead?
Yes, of course. Yes. We will make sure that this presentation and recording is available on our website, and you are free to share that with your colleagues, friends, and anyone who may be interested.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
So glad your friends are interested. What else?
Hi.
Hi.
I just wanted to go over a summary of what I gathered from the presentation. So after taking the 100 hours, that will give us the certificate. And then understandably, because of all of the changes going on right now politically, there's not a guarantee that our exams would be paid for, and those exams would give us official HERS rater. But if we complete the 100 hours, we will have a certificate.
Of completion of the 100 hours, right, Charla?
Yes, you will have a completion of 100 of the training.
Right.
And then once you complete the exams, you become a probationary HERS rater. You're still not a certified HERS rater until you perform the field work with your rating quality assurance provider.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for asking.
Yeah.
I'm sorry some of these things, a couple of these things were incorrect and confusing. Other questions?
Yes, when it comes to the field testing for the HERS rating in the field, the equipment is provided for those I guess hours, or are we is that
No.
what's still kind of unclear?
We are going to have a lending library. Is this Greg? I see your initials.
This is.
Yeah, hi,
This
Greg.
is. Hey.
Hi. We are going to purchase also pending some of these unknowns right now that we're in the middle of regarding our funding. But we are contracted to purchase several sets of blower door and duct blasters. It's in our original budget to
Okay.
lend out so you can use them for your probationary ratings because the equipment is expensive. I had to take out a small business loan once I committed to doing this work.
Got it. Yes.
To buy the equipment. It's
Yes.
it's not like taking out a student loan. It's it's actually four figures, not five, not six, four figures of money,
Mhm.
depending on whether you buy used or new.
Mhm.
So we knew, and we budgeted it in the ability to buy several sets of equipment, both for Kansas City and the St. Louis area, to borrow in order to do all of their probationary ratings to ensure that they get certified before they commit to this as a career and buy equipment.
Okay. Thank you.
And I would say that some of that also depends on where you end up with your rating quality assurance provider, as well as potential employers. If the, it all depends. You might get hit it off with a potential employer and they might loan you their equipment, and support you through that period. Or you might join a rating QA provider that has HERS raters on staff and they may have equipment. So there's multiple ways of having that. And yes, having the lending library through Building U is fabulous. And that is something that we're all looking forward to.
Yes, thank you, Charlotte. That's good news too. Right, exactly. I apprenticed and I used their equipment before I bought my own for that year and a half. So absolutely. The hope is that you will want to apprentice and you really should apprentice before opening your own business, in my humble opinion.
Sure. All right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Feel free to go off mute and state them verbally. Okay, so next steps, Brittany, they're going to get, are they going to get a follow-up link directly that takes them to the intake form, or is this something that we need to instruct them how to remind them on that it's on a certain page?
Right. So there was an email sent out on Friday. Some of you shared that you didn't receive it. So we will make sure to get that to you. But in the email on Friday, there was a link to the intake form, and that has some basic questions, contact information and other items that will be helpful to us to understand what support you might need to get through this program. So there was that link, but to everyone that attended this, we will send a follow-up email with that link just so you don't have to kind of search through your emails to find it. And once you've filled out that intake form, then we will get you started with your login information to access the course material, which again, Mary shared is self-paced. It's all virtual. And once you get that, you'll also have access to the office hours signups as well, so that you can have assistance while going through this coursework. So those would be the next steps. And as Mary mentioned, there is a grace period for you to try out. And if you feel like this may not be your thing, please let us know within the first week or so of you accessing this course material so that we can get someone else a spot off the wait list. So that's kind of what it looks like moving forward past this orientation. Stephanie, yes, you can share it in the chat. Stephanie has the link and provide in the chat. So of course I'll follow up again. We'll follow up again, but here is the link. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Appreciate you.
And I suggest if you don't see the email, be sure to check your spam folder.
Okay, we have 12 minutes left, but sounds like we might be done.
Yeah, I do not see any other questions in the chat. But this was a lot of information to take in over 45 minutes. So if you have questions after you've sat down and thought about this, please reach out to our team. Mary and Adrian had their email address on the presentation, but there's also the buildingu.org email, which is just the general Building U email that our staff has access to. So we will also share that information as well. I think we should probably update that slide to include the Building U email as well. So please feel free to reach out to our team for questions. And we are so excited to have you all participate. So thank you. Mary, I think I'll hand it back over to you for any closing thoughts.
Okay. Well, thank you all for being here. I hope that this is the beginning of a journey into a rewarding career, as I sort of found it to be. You'll never, either way, I don't think you'll ever look at a building again, considering after you go through the 100 hours, especially in the winter. I always love when I'm driving through a residential neighborhood, seeing what roofs are still covered in snow and which ones have melted off quickly and have icicles hanging off their gutters. So if you go through this coursework, you'll know what I mean. So I'm just going to leave it at that and bid you a good day. Good luck. Have fun, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to the orientation. Bye.
Thank you.